Hi, I'm Allie. Join me as I create these simple tubelet earrings in a matter of minutes. They're really great to do with a multi-hole bead, and you can change up the design by watching the whole way to the end to get ideas of different beads you could use. Remember, if you need any supplies, go ahead and look down below the video and we'll give you links to the exact number, quantities, colors, and styles that we use. Gather up your materials on your bead on it board and let's get ready to get started. So today we're going to do a very simple pair of earrings using some IrisDuo and Tubelet beads. This is to show a technique you can totally do other beads as well too and alternate it. I have IrisDuos to hold almond-shaped beads. I have the Tubelet bead, 4mm bicones, and some 15-0s just to hide some thread. To begin with, I'm going to pick up my IrisDuos and 4 of them on some of my size 6 dragon thread that I'm using here with a size 10 needle. I'm picking up the IrisDuos so I make sure that the flat are all on one side and the puff side is all facing the same direction through the same hole. So see how they line up nicely through that first hole, finishing with a 15 and dropping that down to the end of my thread. I have way more thread than I need, but that way I'll get my 2 pairs done. Go ahead and tie this into a knot. And I don't want to tie it into a huge knot because I don't want to see a lot of thread in the interior of my project. So it's just kind of that nice little pop of color there. I'm going to take my thread and needle now, and we are going to feed it into the next IrisDuo. Because remember, we stopped with a 15-0. As we feed it into the next IrisDuo, I want you to grab and do a little pull. What that is going to do is bring that knot into the interior of the IrisDuo, and then you won't see it when we get ready to burn down our thread edges. From here, we're going to take the thread and needle, and we're going to reverse the direction that it's headed. It's coming out of hole number 1 of that IrisDuo, and I'm switching to hole number 2 of that IrisDuo. That's going to put a tiny bit of thread on the exterior of the project, but you won't see it because we're going to go in and add our tubelet beads now. Our tubelet beads are going to be added between each one of our IrisDuos. I'm going to change up the pattern just a tiny bit by adding a 15 on either side to bring that color in just ever so slightly. Skip over to your next IrisDuo, sitting the tubelet and the 15s right between. Spinning around, you're going to do this so simple 4 times, just with that 15, tubelet 15. Making sure those are in there. I've got 2 sides done, 2 more to go. Now that we have our little pinwheel flower design here, I'm coming out of my beads and coming out of my last of my IrisDuos that I connected onto to add that last tubelet. I want you to sew through that first 15 and tubelet that you added in this go round, and then we're going to get ready to add our crystals. Really simply, we're just adding 1, 2, and 3 of our 4mm bicones, skipping over the seed beads and sewing into the next tubelet. These are just going to sit then as you position them in the thread, just right there on the corner in a little rounded edge. You can switch this out too if you want to 3mm or 2mm bicones. Whatever you have on hand will work great. Going around then, you're just decorating the corners. You can see how I manipulate and move the thread so my crystals sit exactly the way that I want them to. So I put my crystals on here, and then I go through the next tubelet. And as I go through the next tubelet, rather than having them sit in an awkward line, I usually kind of pinch the first and the third as we come around. 1, 2, 3 more. Go on into the last tubelet. And literally that's it. You can keep going around if you want to, adding in more beads, adding in more to the design, but I'm going to keep it nice and simple and just have that beautiful earring. From here, I'm going to go up through the first 4mm bicone and also through the second 4mm bicone. Coming out on the top, and what that's going to get me ready to do is make my little loop on the top for my earring to sit in. Once you have your thread coming out of that final top, we are going to go in and add our seed beads to do our loop. You can always use a wire guard. You can do something else. I just wanted that little purple at the top to complete it. Put 10 seed beads on your thread and needle coming out of that top crystal. Go back through the crystal to make that into a loop. And then I'm going to sew up into the crystal or into the seed beads one more time. That way I get an extra line of thread, which is going to protect it and keep it a little bit safer as it wears around its earrings. Remember also, if you want to, you can comment below any change up that you do during this video. If you use pie duos instead of IrisDuos, or use some tubelets for the interior as well. Change up the design and kind of make it your own. Comment below and let us know how you do that. After you do that secondary loop, what we're going to do is I have the project, as you can see, flipped over to the back, because what that does is as I take my thread and needle down through the project, through the second or the third crystal there, through the next tubelet, I'm working my needle and thread back toward the starter thread to be able to get rid of and tie the two thread ends together. Going through the 15 after the tubelet and then through the IrisDuo. Stepping down then from the IrisDuo, from the first hole towards, or the second hole towards the interior first hole, and then bringing my thread all the way around till I get that thread that I'm working with right next to that thread end. So I'm going to tuck that thread end to the back so I can see exactly where it's coming out. So I'm coming out the IrisDuo there. I need to come out through my 15-0 seed bead. Once you're through that period and that bead itself, you're literally just going to tie the thread ends off. You can tuck them then into the bead. I'm not going to worry about it because it's to the back of the project. Again, that flat side facing down, right over left, left over right, doing 2 little ties, and then going in with your thread burner or your thread zap and just burning off that extra little thread end. Bringing it off the project and then flush towards. Once you're done with that, you can grab your ear wire, and I'm just using a little rose gold one to match with my copper. I'm going to turn that loop to the side to open it, hang down on that little seed bead loop, and close it up for this such simple tubelet IrisDuo little pair of earrings inspired by something during one of our live unboxings. Thanks so much for joining me for making these simple tubelet crystal earrings. Remember, there are so many different options when it comes to changing out materials, sizes of beads, and design, and they are so quick and easy to make. Remember, if you want to, go ahead and comment below any of those changes, and that will help out other Potomac beaders that are also watching this video. If you need any supplies, go ahead and also look below the video in the description for links to get to our site. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so that way you can be inspired by future videos from Potomac Beads to come.